Nope.
Uncle Roy has been dead for years, but we still set a place for him every Thanksgiving. Lucky beer glass, plate piled with cornbread stuffing and dark meat, and an extra napkin for stuffing into the collar of his shirt. Uncle Roy was a big eater, so Thanksgiving was the day of the year that he could be totally unapologetic about stuffing his face with second, third, and fourth helpings of lard-laden comfort food. He died 6 years ago, just 1 week before Thanksgiving. Heart attack. Gone before the paramedics even showed up. Poor Aunt Rose cooked enough leftovers that Thanksgiving to feed an army. Her time-tested recipes overwhelmingly huge without Uncle Roy's appetite there to trim down the volume. It was strange to have him missing from the table when he'd been there just a week before, at his own version of his throne and his little own castle. It felt almost like intruding, and the heavy feeling of loss sucked the joy out of the family's most cherished holiday. That night, my mom spent the night at Aunt Rose's house, offering some sisterly support for what had to have been a very rough day. As she tells it, they sat up on the couch until late at night, getting shit-faced on cheap wine, an honored family tradition. As they listened to a generic holiday Pandora station play the same song for the third time, Aunt Rose leaped up with a shriek, her eyes like porcelain dinner plates. Her hand shook violently as it pointed at the sliding glass door behind my mom. It's Roy!" she screamed. My mom grabbed her sister by the wrist and tried to yank her back down to the couch, assuming that between the booze, stress, and grief, Aunt Rose had simply mistaken her own reflection in some kind of horrible, be careful what you wish for thinking. But instead of sitting back down, Aunt Rose didn't budge even an inch. All she did was let out a painful yelp as my mom accidentally dislocated her elbow. Well, that made my mom start screaming, seeing Aunt Rose's arm dangling limp from her rapidly swelling elbow. It wasn't until Aunt Rose grabbed my mom's face with her still good arm and turned her head sharply to face the window. It really was Uncle Roy. The suit he had been buried in was still in pretty good shape, but the same couldn't be said for the rest of him. Even through the darkness and glare on the window glass, they could tell that he was seeping fluids from all over the place, and his eye sockets no longer held the mischievous twinkle that Uncle Roy had always been known for. No eyes of any kind, actually. But he still had that same kind of smile, and enough left on his face for the trademark dimple to show too. Aunt Rose and my mom stood frozen in shock and horror, staring open-mouthed at the well-dressed corpse on the back deck. Uncle Roy raised a hand and knocked gently on the sliding glass door, then gestured at the handle. Neither woman even budged. Uncle Roy shrugged and took a few steps past the door to where the garbage cans were stored on the side of the deck. They heard him rummaging around, tossing the metal can lids against the porch railing. The wooden boards creaked as Uncle Roy shambled back towards the sliding glass door. He held up the bag of turkey gizzards that Aunt Rose had tossed in the trash earlier, then tore the paper packet in half and messily dumped the contents into his mouth. he politely dabbed the corners of his mouth with the damp paper before folding it and tucking it into his pocket. With that, Uncle Roy waved goodbye to my mom, blew a kiss to Aunt Rose, and headed back to where he had come from. Ever since that night, Uncle Roy gets a real plate every year, along with a glass of his favorite beer, set out on a card table on the patio. There's a little less of him every time, but he always brings his smile and his appetite. Hello, dear listener. Thank you for listening to this special bonus holiday video. I would like to wish everybody out there a happy Thanksgiving. Just so you guys know, the site that hosts the store where you can buy t-shirts and other apparel for Nope Too Creepy is going to have a Black Friday sale, so I will leave that link in the description so you can check that out. Otherwise, happy Thanksgiving again. I am thankful for every single one of you that are listening right now. And stay safe out there, especially if you're going to go Black Friday shopping. I'll be seeing you in the next video.